Hello everyone. I would like to give you a brief introduction to the Think Finance Structured Product Factory, which you can open by clicking on this button in the main window here. The first window that you'll see is the so-called template selector. On the left-hand side, you will find a variety of different structured product templates, which are grouped into the four main categories: capital protection, leverage, participation, and yield enhancement. If you click on any of these templates, you will see the payoff of the product at issuance in blue versus its payoff at maturity in gray, and the underlying asset in red. So you can click through the different templates to select the payoff you like. In my case, I like this one here, the Twin Win certificate. Once you've done your selection, you click on the Select Template button to open the main window of the Structured Product Factory. The main window contains two subpanes, the Product Settings pane and the Replicating Portfolio pane, which I will explain to you in a second. In the Product Settings pane, you will see on the left-hand side all the parameters that define the product, such as the asset class, the underlying asset, trade date and maturity date, product notional, and the different strike and barrier levels that define the payoff. You can easily change any of these parameters. For example, I'm changing the barrier level here. Once you've done the change in the parameters, you click on the Update button to apply the changes to the product. If you want to reset the product to its initial state, all you have to do is to click on the Run Rules button, which will rerun the structuring rules, which I will explain to you in a second. Below the payoff plot, you find a variety of plotting functions. You can plot the market value of the product, the profit and loss, the return on investment, and a variety of risk parameters, such as the delta, the gamma, the vega, or the product leverage of the product. And last but not least, you can plot the valued risk distribution in comparison with its underlying. For all these plotting functions, you can apply an additional function called the time machine. What this means is, if you move this slider here to the right, you will move the product forward in time, and you will see how the valued risk distribution changes over time. You can do the same thing for the payoff. You can see how the payoff of the product changes over time. Another interesting function in the main window is the so-called scenario simulator, which you can open by clicking on this button here. In the scenario simulator, you'll see in the upper half all the pricing parameters that define the price of the product, such as the underlying price, the volatility of the underlying, the level of interest rates, and the valuation date. You can define a scenario here, like a change in the underlying price, change in volatility, change in interest rates, or a change of the valuation date. And you see the impact of the scenario on the market value of the product, the profit and loss, the return on investment, and the delta and the leverage of the product. Another interesting function is the backtesting function, which you can start by clicking on this button here. It opens the backtesting window, showing a backtest of the product. Here you see the backtest of the product compared to a standard benchmark. Now this backtest is based on a buy and hold strategy, meaning the product stays the same throughout the backtesting period. For long-term backtests, you can also simulate a rolling investment strategy using the so-called backtest strategy function, which you can find here in the backtesting window. For example, I'm selecting a yearly rebalancing strategy with a yearly rollover of bonds and derivatives. This way, I can simulate a rolling investment strategy in a specific structured product. Now, I'm pressing the backtest button, and you can see the backtest of this rolling investment strategy, once again compared to a standard benchmark. The second pane in the Structured Product Factory contains the replicating portfolio, which you see in the upper half of this pane. In the lower half of this pane, you see the so-called rule modeler, which contains the structuring rules of the product. Now, this is a very sophisticated structuring tool, and if you want to use it to create your own structured products, I highly recommend to you reading the user manual, which explains the rule modeler in every detail, which you find on our website. Let's go back to the product setting pane. Let's assume I'm happy with the product and I want to import it into my portfolio, which I can do by clicking on the OK button. Here you see my portfolio in the Portfolio Manager now, which contains two structured products. In the risk column, you can see the relative riskiness of both products. If you want to compare the risk profile of these two products, you can do that in the Risk Manager. Here you see the joint valued risk distribution of both products. If you want to compare the risk profile of both products, you can click on the Book by Book View button here, which displays the value distribution of both products separately. As you can see, the Capital Protected Certificate and the Twin Win Certificate have a very different risk profile. You can also compare the payoff profile of both products by clicking on this pane here. This pane shows the joint payoff of both products. If you want to compare the products, once again you click on the Book by Book View button here, which compares the payoff of both products. Like in the Structured Product Factory, you can use the Time Machine function to move forward in time to see the evolution of both payoffs over time. Last but not least, it's interesting to mention that in the main window, you can drill down into both products to see the replicating portfolio of both products. Now, this is the end of our introduction. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to know more about the Structured Product Factory or any other function of Think Finance, please visit our website www.thinkfinance.eu. Thank you.